In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.
Remember when you thought your neighbors might be actors? Your dog was acting a little too smart, and the sky could just glitch? Back when Jim Carrey didn't just make you laugh, he made you paranoid for life? The Truman Show wasn't just a movie. It was a cultural wake-up call dressed as a feel-good dramedy. Released in 1998, right before reality TV became our default setting, the film tapped into our growing fear that nothing around us was real. Not the weather, not the news, not even our own choices. While audiences showed up expecting rubber-faced comedy, they got existential dread, hidden cameras, and a giant studio dome pretending to be the sky. Directed by Peter Weir and starring a surprisingly restrained Jim Carrey, The Truman Show predicted influencer culture, 24/7 surveillance, and the idea that everyone might be watching, even when you're brushing your teeth. And behind all that, a mountain of weird, wonderful, and totally unexpected facts you've probably never heard. Stick around for fact number 1. It'll make you rewatch the whole thing with a brand new pair of paranoid glasses. And hey, if you love retro deep dives like this, hit that like button and subscribe. We're just getting started. The entire town was built on a soundstage, and it was real. You remember Sea Haven? Blue skies, white picket fences, neighbors who waved too much. It felt just a little too perfect. That's because it was, but here's the twist. Sea Haven wasn't CGI. It wasn't green screen. It was an actual town. Kind of. The film was shot almost entirely in Seaside, Florida, a real master-planned community built in the 1980s. Director Peter Weir chose it because it looked like a postcard from a suburban dream. Symmetrical pastel-colored homes, clean sidewalks, and that uncanny Pleasantville vibe that felt just slightly off. The town was so perfectly designed it felt fake, which made it perfect for a movie about a fake world designed to feel real. The town's aesthetic did more than just look good on film. It became a character in itself. Weir even had the film crew remove street signs and hide equipment inside fake walls to maintain the illusion that every angle could be watched. Just like how Truman was monitored 24/7, even the extras were trained to repeat robotic loops in the background, creating that eerie, scripted atmosphere we all remember. And here's the kicker. After the movie wrapped, Seaside became a tourist hotspot. Fans still visit to this day, hoping to spot the same intersections, storefronts, and that iconic White House Truman called home. Although, sadly, there's no hidden staircase to the moon in the real town. Turns out you don't need CGI to create dystopia. Sometimes all you need is a well-organized HOA and way too much symmetry. Jim Carrey was almost replaced. Seriously? It's hard to imagine anyone but Jim Carrey playing Truman Burbank, the wide-eyed man-child trapped in a made-for-TV reality. But here's the mind-bending truth. Carrey wasn't the studio's first choice. In fact, he almost didn't get the role at all. Back in the mid-90s, The Truman Show had been in development for years, and the original script was much darker. Think urban noir thriller instead of sunny satire. Names like Gary Oldman, Robin Williams, and even Dennis Hopper were floated. Jim Carrey, known at the time for Ace Ventura and The Mask, wasn't exactly what you'd call subtle, but director Peter Weir had a vision. He believed that underneath Carrey's elastic face and slapstick antics was a dramatic actor waiting to break out. The problem? Carrey was booked solid for years, so instead of recasting, Weir did something unheard of in Hollywood. He waited over a year for Carrey's schedule to clear up. That gamble paid off. Carrey brought an innocence and vulnerability that grounded the entire film and proved for the first time that he could carry more than just gags. His performance earned him a Golden Globe and changed the trajectory of his career. Imagine The Truman Show without that trademark Carrey mix of confusion, charm, and slow-building rage. Now imagine it starring Dennis Hopper. Yeah, we're glad they waited. The original script was a dark, violent sci-fi thriller called The Malcolm Show. Long before Truman was dodging falling stage lights and sailing to freedom, the story looked very, very different. The original script, written by Andrew Nichol, wasn't the quirky satire we know today. It was called The Malcolm Show, and it was grim. Set in a dystopian version of New York City, the script followed a man whose entire life was a lie, except this version had prostitutes, drug addiction, police brutality, and a tone closer to Blade Runner than Pleasantville. The show's producers manipulated Malcolm through fear, surveillance, and violence. Think less, Welcome to Sea Haven, and more, Escape from Orwellian Nightmare. When director Peter Weir came on board, he loved the concept but felt it needed to be more accessible and less, soul-crushing. So he moved the setting to a picture-perfect suburban town, softened the tone, and layered in humor and warmth. Nichol agreed and even rewrote the script under Weir's direction. But traces of that darker version remain. The existential dread, the creeping paranoia, the sense that something is just off. It all came from that original grimmer vision. So next time you watch Truman smiling through his morning routine, just remember, he was almost dodging dystopian drones in a city of nightmares. Ed Harris was cast last minute and wrote his own backstory. It's hard to forget Christof, the cold, godlike creator of Truman's World, perched in his moon-based control room like some benevolent, or not-so-benevolent big brother. But here's the wild part. Ed Harris joined the project just days before filming his scenes. Originally, actor Dennis Hopper had been cast as Christof, but after just one day of shooting, he was abruptly replaced due to creative differences, which in Hollywood speak usually means something went very wrong, very fast, that left the production scrambling to find a new actor, and fast. Enter Ed Harris? With almost no prep time, Harris stepped into the role and immediately brought a quiet intensity that was nothing short of chilling. But because he came in so late, the character wasn't fully fleshed out, so Harris did something unexpected. He wrote his own backstory for Christof. In Harris's mind, Christof was a visionary filmmaker turned recluse, someone who genuinely believed he was doing something beautiful, not malicious, just deeply misguided. That subtle layering gave Christof a complexity that elevated the role from cliché villain to something way more unsettling. A man who thought he was saving Truman, and get this, despite joining late, Harris's performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Not bad for a guy who had to wing it from day one. So yeah, Truman wasn't the only one faking it until he made it. The extras were given choreographed routines, like robots. Ever notice how Truman's neighbors seemed a little too chipper? How the mailman always waved at the exact same time? Or how the jogger passed Truman at precisely the same spot every morning? That wasn't just clever editing. It was meticulously choreographed background acting. Director Peter Weir wanted to create a sense that Sea Haven wasn't just artificial. It was scripted. To achieve that, he instructed the extras to move in tightly controlled, repetitive loops. They rehearsed where to walk, when to wave, and even how long to smile. Some of the background actors were even told to reset their positions just out of Truman's sightline, as if their movements were being controlled by a stage manager behind the scenes. The goal? To make the viewer feel that something wasn't right, even if they couldn't quite put their finger on it. And it worked. That uncanny repetition, like the woman on the bike, the man with the briefcase, the guy watering the lawn, added to the psychological unease of the film. It was like Truman was stuck in a live-action screensaver. There's even a subtle nod to this in the film. At one point, Truman stares at a man on a ladder, fixing something on a sign. The man doesn't move, doesn't acknowledge him, he just stays frozen in place, waiting for his cue. Creepy? Yes, intentional? Absolutely. Turns out Groundhog Day isn't the only movie where people are stuck in loops. A single line of dialogue accidentally spoiled the entire plot. In the trailer, imagine going into The Truman Show expecting a quirky comedy about Jim Carrey and walking out questioning your entire reality. That was the original plan, but thanks to one slip-up in marketing, the film's central twist was accidentally spoiled before it even hit theaters. In early test screenings and promotional trailers, there was a line of voiceover that revealed a bit too much. Truman doesn't know his whole life is a TV show. That one sentence, designed to hook audiences, ended up unraveling the mystery before the opening credits even rolled. The film was originally pitched as a slow burn, letting viewers discover, along with Truman, that his world was fake. But studio marketers, afraid audiences wouldn't get it, decided to spell things out in the trailer. Oops. Director Peter Weir was reportedly furious. He had envisioned a psychological reveal that would build tension and paranoia, much like Truman's own journey. But once the secret was out in the ads, Weir had to rethink the pacing in the final cut. Instead of saving the twist, the film leans into it early, shifting focus from "is this real?" to "how will he escape?" The good news? Even with the spoiler, the film still worked brilliantly. Because knowing Truman's world is fake doesn't lessen the tension. It makes it worse. We're no longer figuring things out. We're trapped inside with him, watching him wake up to a reality we already know. So next time you curse a spoiler, just remember, The Truman Show survived a major one and still became a classic. The control room set was modeled after NASA's Mission Control. That stark, circular control room where Christoph watches Truman like a god with a headset. Yeah, it wasn't just sci-fi set dressing. The design was directly inspired by NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston, down to the monitors, operator workstations, and big, glowing projection screens. Director Peter Weir wanted Christoph's command center to feel clinical, sterile, and authoritative. Like he wasn't just directing a show, he was launching a space mission. The idea was to contrast the colorful, artificially cheerful Sea Haven with a cold, mechanical, behind-the-scenes reality where Truman's every moment was analyzed like a data point. Production designer Dennis Gassner reportedly studied NASA's real-life layouts and integrated elements like modular console panels, multi-feed video walls, and even adjustable lighting meant to mimic the all-seeing eye of a surveillance state. The monitors watching Truman's movements were real-time feeds hooked to cameras planted around the Sea Haven set, adding authenticity to every flick of Christoph's joystick. And here's a detail that most fans miss. The control room is literally built inside the moon hanging over Sea Haven. That's right, the artificial moon that lights Truman's world is also the HQ where Christoph lives, works, and monitors his creation. Symbolism much? It's a subtle but powerful metaphor. A man sitting in the heavens manipulating life below, convinced he's doing the right thing. Orwell would have been proud or terrified.
Good morning!
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good morning. And in case I don't see ya was completely improvised. It's the most iconic line in the entire movie. Cheerful, friendly, and quietly tragic. Good morning. And in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. But here's the twist. Jim Carrey made it up on the spot. That line, which became Truman's unofficial catchphrase and the emotional heartbeat of the entire film, wasn't originally in the script. Carrey, ever the improviser, added it during a take while filming one of the scenes where Truman greets his perfectly programmed neighbors. Director Peter Weir loved it immediately, not just because it was funny or charming, but because it perfectly captured Truman's character, a man conditioned to perform politeness while unknowingly living in a cage. The line was warm, robotic, and just a little too rehearsed, like something a trained TV host might say over and over without ever really meaning it. What started as an improv moment ended up becoming the film's closing line, delivered as Truman exits the dome with a mix of sarcasm, defiance, and bittersweet liberation. It's that final quiet mic drop before he vanishes into freedom and leaves millions of viewers and fake Sea Haven fans in stunned silence. To this day, fans quote that line as shorthand for the movie's core message. We're all living in performances. But at some point, we get to walk off stage. Turns out, sometimes the most scripted world is cracked wide open by a completely unscripted moment. The film inspired a real-life mental disorder, Truman Show delusion. Here's where things get really weird. After the release of The Truman Show, psychiatrists began noticing a strange pattern among certain patients. They genuinely believed their lives were being filmed for a secret reality show, complete with hidden cameras, fake family members, and a watching audience they couldn't see. Doctors didn't know what to call it, so they named it after the movie, Truman Show Delusion. This isn't just a few isolated cases. In the years following the film's release, psychologists around the world, from New York to London to Tokyo, began documenting patients who were convinced they were living in an elaborately staged world. Some believed every stranger was an actor. Others thought newscasters were sending them coded messages. One man even flew to New York City to check if the Today Show was secretly about him. And here's the haunting part. Most of these people had seen the movie. The film's premise had become so culturally pervasive, it began to fuel existing paranoia in vulnerable individuals, giving a recognizable shape to their fears. In 2008, two respected psychiatrists published a study on what they called the Truman Show delusion, linking it to increasing surveillance, media saturation, and the rise of reality TV. They noted that the film had essentially created a new archetype for paranoid delusion, something that hadn't existed before 1998. Think about that. The Truman Show didn't just predict reality TV and influencer culture. It accidentally invented a mental health phenomenon. That's next-level legacy. Jim Carrey disappeared into isolation for months before filming. For a movie about a man unknowingly trapped in a false reality, Jim Carrey decided to make his preparation just as psychologically intense. While most actors might rehearse lines or study characters, Carrey went somewhere else, literally. Before filming, he vanished from public life and isolated himself for months. No press, no friends, no outside contact. He wanted to experience what it felt like to be cut off from the world, to question reality, to live inside his own head. In interviews, he later described this period as a time when he wasn't sure where Jim ended and Truman began. And it didn't stop there. Carrey arrived on set in character, stayed in character between takes, and asked the crew to speak to him as if they were part of the show. Director Peter Weir even encouraged it. He wanted Carrey to feel watched, observed, and slightly trapped. Every smile in the film that looks a little too forced, every moment Truman pauses like he's not sure if he can trust the world around him, that wasn't just acting. That was Carrey's real mental state bleeding through. This wasn't the wild, elastic Carrey of Ace Ventura or Dumb and Dumber. This was a man going method at the edge of a psychological cliff and then stepping onto the set of a movie about surveillance, reality control, and emotional imprisonment. The result? A performance so nuanced and haunting it changed Hollywood's perception of Carrey forever. He didn't just play Truman, he lived him. And when Truman finally says goodbye and steps through that door to freedom, you can feel Carrey stepping through something too. Sometimes to find freedom on screen, an actor has to lose himself first. Bonus fact: the original ending was way darker and got cut at the last minute. So you remember that beautiful final shot. Truman bows, delivers his signature line, and walks through the door into the unknown. Fade to black. Cue emotional gut punch. Perfect, right? Well, the original ending wasn't quite so uplifting. According to early drafts and interviews with the production team, director Peter Weir originally intended to follow Truman into the real world, but not in a hopeful way. Instead of sunlight and freedom, Truman would find himself surrounded by reporters, cameras, fans screaming his name, and strangers trying to touch him. He'd walk out of one cage and into another. Even darker versions of the ending showed Christoph descending from the moon, confronting Truman in person for the first time, trying to convince him to come back to Sea Haven. In some storyboards, Truman considered it, because hey, better the fake comfort you know than the terrifying chaos you don't. But after several test screenings, Weir and the studio realized something important. The audience didn't want to see the real world. They wanted to end with hope, not headlines, so they cut the scene, rewrote the ending, and gave Truman the perfect final shot. One door, one step, and total silence. Still, the original version lingers in fan forums and deleted script pages. A reminder that Truman's freedom might have just been another set in disguise. Sometimes the best way to escape is not knowing what's next. So there you have it. 10 weird, wild, and slightly unsettling facts that prove the Truman Show wasn't just ahead of its time. It might have been watching us the whole time. From improvised catchphrases to delusions that jumped off the screen and into real life, this film blurred the line between fiction and reality in ways no one expected, not even Jim Carrey. And let's be honest, the older we get, the more we start looking over our shoulders, wondering if that guy watering his lawn has done it every day for 10 years. At exactly 8:14 a.m., Got a favorite Truman moment we didn't cover, or do you secretly think you might be on a show too? No judgment. We get it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more retro deep dives like this one, because in case we don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.